Brittney King Brock is not only a music executive, but also a wellness advocate, but she's also a happy wife and mother. As founder and operator of King Creative Group and president and general manager at 10K Projects, Brittney has worked along some of the best and brightest talents in the music industry, including Usher, Justin Bieber, Diddy, and Lil Baby. Um, this is the part that got me when I got the bio. Brittney got her start in the industry, interning for DJ Drama and affiliates during the launch of the highly successful Gangsta Grillz mixtape series. In 2017, she launched her own artist services and management company, King Creative Group, whose clients include independent record label Quality Control Music, choreographer and creative director Jamaica Craft, and producer Twisted Genius. Everyone, please welcome Brittney King Brock. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, cool. I was over here struggling for a minute, like, wait a minute, do I have, because I couldn't see. So yeah, okay, there we go. Hi, guys.
Can you see me? And can you hear me as well?
I can. Yes, I can hear you. You're good.
Cool. So we can just kind of jump into it. And I think this is mostly my curiosity in it, but, and I think you might have gotten this question a ton, from coming up during the mixtape era, and I think one of the, in my at least perspective, a very successful mixtape era with the Gangsta Grillz era, what has been your biggest, the biggest shift that you've seen in the music industry, in particular when it comes to breaking talent in the last 10 years?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. So, I mean, as you mentioned, I got my start in Atlanta, and in Atlanta, artists are broken in the clubs, in the studios, in the strip clubs. And so one thing that I really, really love looking back in hindsight as I started with DJ Drama was like, we were in the trenches. Like I started with him when I think he had just done the first TI tape, and traction was starting to pick up, or they were still DJing in the clubs. I used to be, carrying the crates, and really just for me, that was my first introduction of music. And it started with the people. You get the music in front of the people, you find your audience. And I think that is a through line that in every aspect of the industry, every genre, it's like going straight to whoever you're talking to, right? And so now when you see the mixtape era, it's definitely, transition. I wouldn't say that it's dead, because it's taken a different format in terms of like, even like DJ Drama, they now have Generation Now, which is a thriving independent label. So I think that's also a testament to the importance of, once you find your lane, you figure out how to leverage whatever skill set that you're able to bring to the table. So in today's climate, it's still the discovery. And now we're discovering in different places, from the TikToks and social media, but the core of it is still finding your audience and going straight to the people that you serve.
So as far as, and I guess the other part of that question was just like, especially at 10K Projects now, with like artists like Trippie Redd, even Surfaces, like how are you seeing artists get broken in the industry now compared to what it was back then?
Social media, digital, especially the last year has definitely been a different approach in terms of just strategy and knowing how to reach your audience. But when you take our artists like Surfaces, for example, their core audience and fan base is touring. Is them being on the road. They're a touring act. Same thing with Trippie. And so Surfaces, as an example, we signed them. They had a great rollout with Sunday Best, which was a very, a streamable song. It charted on the radio. We had extremely success, but then pandemic happened. And so a lot of the things that we had planned for them, although we still rolled all of it out, we had to shift the strategy. And so I think with artists like a Trippie and a Surfaces, knowing the importance of them reaching their audience, not only digitally, but also touring and other ways that you can exploit them, is extremely important.
Definitely. Do you think there's like a similarity from, breaking talent? I know you mentioned social media, from what it was 10 years ago to it is right now. Like, what's the one thing that you've noticed that has been very, very constant?
between where the industry was 10 years ago and where it is today, the desire for people, just the fandom, people just wanting and craving music. I think that in itself will never change. I think the consumption values have drastically risen, especially over the last decade with people, because the audiences that were born, say 10 years ago in the 2010s, 2011s, they're now 10, 11, and 12-year-olds, right? So they were born into the digital age. And so those people are now becoming, subscribers to the DSPs, and they're becoming a part of the audience that we're targeting. So I think with that, that's the biggest thing. It's just like the demand for music has risen drastically, but the way that we service it has absolutely changed. And I mean, even if we think about all the things that we were doing 10 years ago that we're no longer doing, right? 10 years ago, we were still buying songs for 99 cents on iTunes. We were still carrying iPods in our pocket. Like there was a lot of people were still going to Walmart and Target to buy physical albums. So much has changed in the last 10 years, like in the industry as a whole. It's crazy. It's a brand new industry. Like the music industry is a brand new industry to where it really is at a point to where, to a degree, everybody's equal. Like what I love about the current industry is everyone is on an even playing field to a degree in terms of you can get your music out. There are no more gatekeepers. There used to be a million gatekeepers that were able to say, yes, you get in the room. No, you don't get in the room. And now you don't have to ask for permission anymore. And like, I love that. Is it harder because there are way more just fish in the sea, and now you just got to weed through and figure out which one is actually going to make it to the top, or which one do I want to sink my teeth into? And that's another thing that we're struggling to find, is like finding that audience that is truly committed. Because one thing that I run into with the new age listener is like they'll listen to the song a million times, but the artist really having an identity and the connection to the artist, right? When you think of these iconic artists like the Whitneys or the Michaels and all of that, there was something that the general public, we connected to a story. And so I think one thing that's missing in these in the newer artists that we have today, the music is great, but I want to see more of the story. I want to see more of like the identity, that part. So I know I probably went on a little tangent. I probably answered way more questions than you asked me, but like, that's the thing of like, I'm so excited about where the future of the business is headed, because it's a brand new business and it's a new game.
Definitely. And I think, you brought up a great point, and something that I've been having a ton of conversations about is like the industry is at an even playing field. And I think even more through the pandemic, I think the pandemic put everything on pause for a lot of people, where like, even if you thought you had certain resources, everyone essentially starting from zero again. So thinking as far as like, where we are right now, vaccines and, festivals being announced again, what do you think will be the biggest shift in the next 12 months?
Oh, in the next 12 months, definitely live music. I think, fans are absolutely excited to get back into seeing their favorite artists perform again. But I also think there's going to be a really big boom in just the consumption of new music and new releases. I think a lot of artists that we've been waiting to hear new music from, like I've been waiting to hear new music from Kendrick. And I'm like, I feel like the last year, 12 to 18 months, everybody's been cooking. Everybody's been working, coming up with like the best of the best music. And now that tours are starting to be announced and opening up, I think people are getting their plans together, because a lot of artists were going in the studio, recording, and wanting to tie it to a tour because that's where they make the most money. And so I think now we're going to see by spring, summer, early fall, we're going to see a lot of new releases, a lot of new music, and it's going to be crazy.
So I'll take it a little bit even further. I think the big conversation is the new music industry right now. Where do you see this new music industry going in the next 5 years?
I think the future is independent. Okay. I think, and across the board.
You're dropping bombs.
I mean, we see it. We see it's something that literally cannot be ignored, and it's like what do you do with that, right? And so for me, I see all of these independent labels popping up, all of these innovative minds, right? That are visionaries in their own right. And it's like, how do we help them to create sustainable operational businesses in music? Because the future of our business is going to rely on the independent community, especially with DSPs, especially being able to go straight through. How do we create some type of model, whatever that may look like? I don't know. But that's where I see it going. It's like really relying on the creative talents or of the independent market in industries to still be able to guide, right? And so I think that is the role that the major labels are starting to play. And I hope that we get better with it, right? By positioning ourselves as support. We are here to amplify what you're doing, but we're also going to help you become sustainable businesses, because that's the biggest thing that's lacking. A lot of these indie labels don't really know how to build their teams. They're lacking people who have experience. They don't know, like, building their operational budgets, being able to forecast, like all of those things. Is like building the tools that help them do their job.
Wow. Okay. I'm trying to even figure out how to pivot to the next question because I got a million questions, but I'm getting messages like, all right, let's get to the next one. So I do want to make sure we highlight within this segment your platform that you've created, Women Like Me, which is centered around holistic wellness and providing support to working and entrepreneur women and mothers. So, you know, I could speak on it just from the information and the stuff that I read on it, but I want to hear, you know, from your words, what is the importance of this platform and what you hope to essentially create awareness for?
Yeah. So thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate it. This is my baby. This is what has been something that's been on my heart for quite some time. It's just creating a community for women, not only in music, but just entertainment and creative industries as a whole, right? To talk about the things outside of our business, right? Our emotional health, our emotional and physical wellness and spiritual wellness, and all the things that race through our mind that we probably don't talk about, right? Or as openly, because there hasn't been a safe space to talk about it. And so for me, my path to wellness started, I would say, really my first job in the industry. Like my first job as an executive assistant in the industry, it came with a lot of pressure. It came with a lot of pressure to perform. And now in hindsight, it was a lot of self-imposed pressure because the Virgo in me just wanted to be great at everything that I needed to do. And it got me to all of the goals that I wanted professionally, right? But in the process, I experienced burnout, I experienced anxiety, I experienced moments of depression, I experienced panic attacks, all of these things that in the moment, I didn't know what they were. I just felt like this is just the plight of a Black woman in America, and you just got to do what you got to do to get to where you got to get to. And to a degree, there's some truth there. But with what I didn't know was all of the ways that I was not being kind to myself, all of the ways that I was putting the needs of others before I was putting the needs of myself. And so Women Like Me is a community that I started at the end of the year, last year, that was birthed from not only my personal experiences, but the experiences of other women that I was talking to in the industry, that where I realized, oh, you've dealt with that too, or you felt like you couldn't be a mom in music because it's a male dominated industry and you thought that, you know, you would lose your career if you became a mother because you couldn't do both. Let's have those conversations. And so it is a passion for me to just be able to talk to other women that are at the beginning of their careers, the middle of their careers, CEOs and chairmen who still have the same issues and still have the same fears and experiences, for us to just have a safe space. So I started a podcast at the end of the year called Women Like Me, and we just have really real conversations about, you know, from people like Jamaica Craft, who's a well-known choreographer and creative director. She talks about, you know, some of the things that she experienced when she discovered she was having her first child and how her career would be affected because she's supposed to be in the room coming up with dance steps. And she's like, how do I show up 9 months pregnant and somebody's telling me to dance? So little things like that, that you experience, and it's just like, it's life. And so being able to go through life and hear other people's experiences and you knowing that you're not alone, that in and of itself is most of the times what you need to just get over that hill. And so I just wanted to create a space for that. And we're still building it out. And, you know, hopefully once events and things come back to the table, we'll be able to get together in person. But it's just something that I felt was needed, because everybody that I talked to was like, I need to talk about this because nobody's talking about this kind of stuff. So that's Women Like Me. And please check out the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And I would love to get your thoughts.
I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing that. And everyone, please go check it out. I haven't heard all of them, but I definitely dove in before the workshop to try to get an idea of what it was. And the Virgo in me, I feel some of it. I feel 10% of what you've been talking about.
You're Virgo?
I am a Virgo, yes.
When's your birthday?
August 26th.
Oh, you're August Virgo. Y'all different. I just say my brother is August 28th. I'm September 19th.
Oh, you're September Virgo. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the Q&As. We have a bunch of great questions on here.
Okay.
So this one is it important to have a constant presence on social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, or should I focus on being placed on platforms that you're good at? And I believe that they're talking about mostly on streaming platforms.
I personally think it really depends on the type of artist you are, the type of music you make. Like everything for me starts with find your people. And so if your people are on TikTok, then go there and serve your people. If your people are on Spotify, go there and serve your people. So depending on your song, depending on your music, I think it just expands your reach with you being able to have a presence on all of these platforms. But I also don't think that every artist is a TikTokable artist. And so I think that, and that's something that you see kind of artists, everybody is trying their hand at TikTok and it's not working for everybody. Like that can't be everybody's strategy, because if that is everybody's strategy, we all know what's going to happen with that, right? So I think that you have to, it starts with you understanding you. I'm not a person that chases trends. I'm not a person that does it because everybody else does it. And so I think that if it works for you, if it fits into your overall strategy for yourself, for your music, if it makes sense, then yes, you do all of those things. But if YouTube is where you find your audience, then you super serve your audience on YouTube. And those people that might find you on TikTok, you redirect them to YouTube.
This is more on like the music business side from Presley. To work in the music business and get a position like an A&R or marketing at a label, do you think experience or schooling is more important than someone's background?
No, when you say someone's background, meaning their resume, if they didn't go to school?
Yeah, so whether, school versus experience.
No, I think that there are some amazing all of the people that I learned from did not graduate from college. Chris Hicks did not graduate from college. Puff Daddy did not graduate from college. And so I think that, yes, if you are a person who goes to school, you get your education, that's amazing. And I think it teaches you necessary life skills for sure. But I do not think that it is a prerequisite to be in the music business. No, it's not. We see it. It's a fact. No, you don't have to be. And even with like our internship at 10K, we opened it up specifically for people that you can be in college or not in college. Anyone can apply. So it's not specifically for college students, because I noticed that was a big hiccup. A lot of people were not able to get internships because they weren't in college. And it's like, if you're a 22 or 24 or 25-year-old, just because you're not in college doesn't mean that you don't have something to bring to the table. So I think you just figure out what it is that you bring to the table. Everything starts with value. If your value is, I can write you the most amazing marketing strategy in the world and I can give you all the boom, boom, boom of what you need to do, super serve your value. And then find the people who need what you offer. It really boils down to that. If you're the most organized person in the world, go find the person who does not have their shit together. and show them how you can make their life easier, right? So find your value. Once you find your value, you super serve that to whoever needs what you offer.
And last question before we move on. It's a question. Would you say it's gotten easier as a Black woman to dominate in the music industry?
Good child. Will I say it's gotten easier? No. Will I say there are more of us at the table now to where we can come together to make sure that it's changing for those who comes up after us? I think those conversations are happening. But in terms of, like, for me, when I was coming up and I was researching the women in the industry, there weren't a lot of Black women that I can look at other than Sylvia, other than Tina Davis at the time. Like, there weren't a lot. And so now I think, which is another reason why I started Women Like Me, is because you can't be what you can't see. And so now we have a lot of examples of Black women who are leaders in the space. We have Ethiopia, we have myself, we have all of these other women, we have Sylvia, we have like, there literally is a list now of like all these women. You have Heather, you have Amber, you have all of these people who are leaders in the space in various capacities. And we all are leaning into the gifts that we bring to the table in different areas, be it the label side, the publishing side, the marketing, the touring. So now you have all of these options to where if you're that little girl who's looking to be an executive in music, there is a playbook. There's a playbook of all of these women that with social media and the internet now, they're at your fingertips. And so when I was a little girl in Alabama trying to figure out how to get in the music business, the only thing that I had was to read the back of, CD credits, CD liners. And I got familiar with these names, but it was hard to really put a face to it, let alone get direct access to them. And so one of my things as an executive in this is like, I will never forget how I started. I will never forget where I come from, which is why I love doing, conversations like this, because I was the person in the audience trying to get the information. So now nobody has an excuse. And unfortunately, no, I can't get to every single email that comes to me, but it's because of outlets like this that give people the access that's absolutely necessary. So as a Black woman in the industry, I'm still fighting the good fight. I'm fighting the fight as a woman. I'm fighting the fight as a Black woman. But what gives me peace in it today is knowing I am not alone in my fight. And I'm not fighting for just me. So on those hard days when I do want to give up and I want to throw in the towel, because it's not easy, by far, it's not easy. I get on the phone sometimes and they're surprised that I'm the person leading the conversation. I've gotten past that now. It's like, whatever, you're going to get this work. But like, no. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it's not easy. But there are a lot more of us that you can learn from. And my prayer and my hope is that we continue to share, that we share that knowledge. So yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you again, Brittney. I appreciate it. Everyone, please follow Brittney and also tune into her Women Like Me podcast. I think the conversation that she started today really continues in her podcast. So please tune in.
Thank you.